Welcome everybody. It's been a little while since our last edition of the Better Cross by Barker video series, but as everyone has experienced, it's been one of those springs that we'd all like to forget. The spring in 2019 has not been friendly. Too much cold, too much water, little bursts of intense planting activity that have more than challenged everybody from a physical, mental point of view to get the job done. Locally here, we're fortunate. We did at least get the seed in the ground. We've got crops that are beginning to emerge, and we are starting to see symptoms that are worth talking about now, symptoms in physiological development and growth that we haven't always seen in previous years. And one of those is purple corn plants. And behind me here, we've got a field that's got quite a rainbow of colors. It's got plants that are kind of a little bit limey green, which are reasonably healthy. They're just not enjoying life because of the cool temperatures. We've also got plants that have a significant amount of purple on them, and that's what we want to discuss tonight, is why do corn plants at a young vegetative state turn purple under certain conditions. That's what we're going to deal with, so stay tuned. I brought three seedlings in from the field to more closely look at this concept of purple seedling discoloration. And the concept, or the basic reason behind why we get purple accumulation in leaves, it's very, very simple. It's actually just a symptom of sugar accumulation within the plant itself. Certain lines of corn, certain hybrids have this genetic trigger that will take that accumulating sugar and convert it into an anthocyanin pigment, which you can see is this very distinct and dark purpling discoloration in the leaf. Other hybrids and other genetic lines will refuse to purple. They'll almost never purple under almost any circumstance. But this purpling certainly is a good visual as to indicating that there's something going a little bit amiss with the corn plant. It's not maybe functioning quite as thriftily as it would normally. And the environmental interactions that create this condition are a little bit more complicated than just the basic symptom itself. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more. Here is essentially a healthy seedling. It was located more or less right beside this one that's purple. You can see it as a 1, 2, 3, 4 leaf plant with the fifth leaf just emerging. It was in at about that 2-inch planting depth. You have this root coming out off here that's off the seed. There's another root coming off here off the seed. There's a third root coming here off the seed. This is called the seminal root system that initiates off the seed itself. Up until the plant is about a 3-leaf corn plant, you will never see it turn purple. And the reason for that is that it's being established by the seed and the reserves in the seed. The seed is the source of the majority of the nutrition for that young corn plant up until about the 2-leaf stage. Once he's at that 2-3 leaf stage, he transitions away from seed source of nutrition to a root source of nutrition that is supplied by the seminal root system. Once he kicks into gear and at this stage of growth, he will start to also produce these adventitious roots that ultimately will develop into a great big umbrella root structure that carries the plant from the seedling stage right up through to tassel and pollination. The seminal roots or seedling roots, they pretty much cease to function once the big root systems, the adventitious roots, start to take over. And this plant right here, you can see he's nice and green. There's no purpling in him, and that's because his roots have been grown and have established fairly normally and are functioning quite well. So everything that the plant is producing is pretty much getting consumed in the to make the root itself. At this stage of the game, this stage of development, its primary function is to grow roots. And that's also why corn tends to grow pretty slowly at about that 3 to 5 leaf stage. It doesn't really stretch up. And the reason for that is that it's simply trying to establish a good root system to propel it into its later stages. This particular seedling, you can see right here, it was not planted as deep. This black line is meant to be the soil line. It wasn't planted quite as deep, and you've got one seminal root coming off here. You got another poor little thing that's coming off there. It is getting its secondary roots, or adventitious roots, I should say, are starting to get established, and it's coming along. However, the fact that it was planted a little shallower means its root systems is not really quite nearly as well defined. And it's having a little bit of a struggle to put out a healthy root system. And due to that fact, again, it is a 1, 2, 3, 4 leaf corn plant with the fifth there just emerging from the whorl. He's basically physiologically similar to that one. But because its roots are not growing quite as efficiently, that is leading to that sugar accumulation within the plant, and you've got this deep, dark purple discoloration showing up. This one over here is interesting. You can see this seed here was just barely in the ground. He was maybe a half an inch below the soil at best. It actually is off a tire track, off a wheel track, so I pulled this one out of. But you can, again, the root system is struggling. You've got some curlicued roots. That's a symptom of the plant just push, trying to establish a root system. But it's not nearly quite the root system that this particular plant has over here. Consequently, as well, it's having a little bit of a struggle getting itself established, and that purpling is being expressed in the leaf. Now, typically within several days, as long as these seedlings have some roots, eventually this purple discoloration will disappear. It's usually a very, very short-lived thing. But when you're looking at corn at this stage of growth and this time of year, the purpling is a very, very interesting and good clue to lead you to further investigation. I brought in another plant from the same field as the previous three plants, just to illustrate this year probably one of the leading causes as to why purple seedling corn plants are a little bit more prevalent, a little easier to see. And that has to do with soil structure and soil conditions that the seedling is having to establish itself in. And you can see here that you've got a seed that was basically placed where it was supposed to be, kind of in that 1 3/4 depth zone. But it had to develop within this blocky structure of soil that as a result, a combination of the ground being worked a little bit too wet on the wet side, which majority of us had to do this year regardless of the situation, and also some heavy rains that occurred after planting that kind of consolidated this whole structure into a meaty little block. And because the plant is having to try to establish that its early root systems within this tighter soil condition, you will also get this accumulation of sugars in the upper portion of the plant that aren't being fully consumed in the root system, and leading to the anthocyan and purple discoloration in the leaf itself. So another primary reason of purpling in seedlings like this is simply related also to soil structure, and also within that soil structure as well, just because the cool temperatures that seedling is having to try to fight some cold soil conditions down in that root zone. So one other reason why you will see purple seedlings in this particular year of 2019.